Hi, welcome back to Tiny Classrooms Live.
Hi, the doctor here, Don Zalou, Taos, New Mexico.
And I'm Artie Nathan, the HR guy here in the Adirondack Mountains. And our topic today is a few tips to help your employees deal with conflict during this COVID-19 period.
Yeah, and particularly now, Artie, you and I deal with this a lot. Sort of the rising tensions in a company, the byproduct of working remotely and of dealing with the stresses of the COVID culture that's occurring. And this can be dangerous to a culture. So we're going to talk about some ways we might be able to mitigate some of that, aren't we?
Yeah, you're working from home. It's new, it's a little confusing. You're used to working in an office environment where there's a lot of support around you, people and policies and things that you know. And here you are at home and you have to listen to things and react to things and think about things all on your own without that support. And it can be creating some anxious moments. And that's where I think, Don, the tension and the anxiety and the conflict arise.
It's very important not to think of feedback as negative, isn't it? Feedback is feedback. We should be curious about it.
Yeah, you're right. Instead of getting defensive, try to understand what the other person is saying. Ask them to explain themselves. And don't be afraid to ask them to tell you more, because usually there's something in there that you can understand and that you can relate to and you can deal with.
Yeah. As you and I like to say, the facts are always friendly. And that's not just a play on words. It means that if it's an open happen on the other side, it's information I can use and I can benefit from it. I rest positively. And so when
And I
you're
think,
trying to go ahead, I'm sorry.
well, and when this happens, you have to be careful that you don't overreact, that you don't, look and sound and feel defensive, because that's going to set off some other behaviors from other people. And so I think you have to calm down and listen more carefully and ask more questions.
So if we're trying to manage a conflict as a leader, there's a couple of things we might want to think about. First of all, we might want to aim for, hoping for the other person to be happy, to be understood. Uh, in very short and positive phrases and capacities. This is the reason why you start with a short, positive sort of aim at conveying empathy to the other person. And you and I have talked about empathy through this crisis at least a half a dozen times in various ways, but you start that conversation with empathy, interest, respect in the other person, and then you to the behaviors that the other person's showing. The behaviors you see on the Zoom screen right now actually are really fast, fact-based things. And they omit the person's telegraphing to you their assumptions, their feelings, their judgments. Pay attention to those. Just observe what's happening. They're not right or wrong. They're the other person's reality. And in conflict with another person, we first have to behave and trust that what they're saying, what they're doing is reality. If we start with that, reality that they feel, it's a home run. Right? And then understand the consequences or the impact of the behaviors. And so don't skip over this part either. We don't want to tell people that they're wrong. We want to tell them that we're interested to see. And that develops the trust, relaxes the other person, and gives you all the room to move. It's really quite simple, but you've got to avoid being right, don't you?
Well, it's not as simple as the doc makes it sound, but it is good advice. And you just calm down, listen to what you're really hearing, and deal with it. Don't get defensive, get curious. And this stuff is not going to get much easier and it's not going to go away. And so we better get better at handling it if we're going to be successful in the future.
That's right. So thank you for being curious by watching us in this particular episode. Take a breath. Be relieved that life goes on and you're doing well. And thank you very much for being here.